So, with that, let's get started. I'm going to pose a yes-no question to you all, just to see what the lay of the land is. AI, is this disruptive, or is this a complete, what is it, dilutive? Is it
Delusion.
delusional?
Yeah, delusional.
Is it disruptive, or are we being delusional here about the implications? Yes, no. Disruptive?
Yes, but.
Yes, but? 100%?
Depends how you look at it.
It depends. Oh, that's interesting. We have a depends. I was thinking it was going to be yes, 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 and we could finish and these guys could go and have some lunch. Okay?
I'll be easy and say yes.
You're going to say yes. All right, let's dig into that. Let's start immediately with you. Yes, why?
So we're seeing, so just to come back quickly, we invest in companies in all sectors, early stage, and obviously AI has been a big trend in the last 2 years, even 3 years, even on the continent. A lot of the subjects we're seeing are, we think, at the layer of foundational, building models locally to actually adapt to local context, and we think it's the right way to go. So for instance, very recently we saw a company that does voice-to-voice, and they're building on top of, they're building their own model to kind of adapt it to local accents, local dialects. And we think that's the right way to go, and we think this is where disruption is if you're able to build a product that really answers and really adapts itself to the local context. And I think the key to that is accessing data, and you need to be able to have local data, scrap it.
Let's just come on to that in a minute. I mean, you can hear me again? Is this working again?
I don't.
Do I need to shout? Is it working? Okay, I can hear now. So you as a VC, you're supporting, I don't know, if over 100 startups, tens of startups, however many is in your portfolio. Do you have any startups that aren't using AI in some way or another to disrupt the incumbents?
I would say that all startups are using AI in a way or another. I think you can't be competitive today if you're not using AI. Just although the main purpose of the company is not AI, but it's powered or enabled by AI. So it's a great way to improve your operational efficiency and lower your cost and your cost to serve. And this is a great way to be competitive.
Would you invest in anything that is not AI enhanced, AI enabled? Can you imagine that now?
Well, I would invest in a company that is not in AI enabled now, but it has to have some AI component in its roadmap, simply because AI makes a lot of the things much easier. If you take like a B2B, like SME lending business, for instance, there's a lot of KYB that needs to be done. And KYB is a highly repeatable process that you can automatize a lot. So if you're not using AI at some point to do it, what are you doing? You're just going to be wasting your time and your resources on things that are off the shelf and you can just integrate with your process.
Yeah. I was actually listening to, I think it was Y Combinator. They got a nice podcast. I listen to it quite often. One of their chaps came on and he said, when people are saying, where should we look? Where's the addressable market? Where are the opportunities from AI? And one of his, I think, quite interesting pieces of advice was, look at all of the markets that have been well-trodden over the last decade or so. Because AI is just opening up so many opportunities to come in with completely disruptive offerings. Would you kind of agree with that sentiment?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's opening new areas of business. It's enables a lot of companies to focus on what's essential and the core of their offering, and it just reduces time in certain tasks significantly, and enables you to focus what's unessential. We're seeing tons of new business models emerging into the continent that we would have never thought about coming in, and you can do a lot from the continent today to address international markets through AI. We're looking at a company right now in the medtech sector, and they're using AI to improve diagnosis for prenatal features. So they basically look into fetus ultrasounds, and they're able to spot diseases ahead of the birth, and they're doing it out of Morocco. And because we have doctors, we have radiologists in Morocco, we have people who are able to look at the data and interpret the ultrasounds, and AI has just accelerated the process and enable anyone to receive this data and give a quick interpretation. Okay. And those are, this is a company that pre-AI would have never existed in Morocco, and because AI is here and we have the talent to actually run the analysis locally, they can sell internationally.
Interesting. Now, Sam, I want to come over to you because of everyone sitting here, in some ways, you've actually got a product which is just going through a path which products have been doing similar things for 50 or so years. I mean, at the heart of an ERP is it's a filing cabinet. Right? It just stores data. And this started off, let's say, in the 50s or 60s with armies of PAs who were just moving bits of paper around with blotters and sticking them into filing cabinets and finding ways to go and move it from one person to another. And obviously then we go through a couple of revolutions. We get SAP coming through in the 80s and the 90s and other producers. We go cloud. I suppose we start to go and see that coming through with Salesforce and other similar platforms. But at the end of the day, it's a filing cabinet. Why did you decide that you were going to go in and tackle this market? And how important has AI been to you in terms of taking that decision?
Well, I think you've kind of nailed the point. It's been this massive data set that all these companies have had access to for 40 years. But the problem was to actually understand that data, you had to go and hire people who are highly specialized. So let's say I'm running a manufacturing firm and I've got 10 people. Is one of those people a data scientist? Probably not. The problem is that the enterprise guys who have 1,000, 1,500, 2,000 employees, they've got massive teams who are analyzing the data coming out of the ERP. So what AI is doing is allowing me as a small manufacturer to go, let's look at my data, let's do some forecasting, let me do some analysis without the skill set intrinsically in my team, and I'm offloading it into a model that's doing the analysis. So that's where we see AI going, is that it's really good at like breaking down data and actually analyzing it using set structures. And on the back of that, we think that the SME sector, which is growing, are the people who need it the most. They're the ones who have traditionally not had the funds to go and invest into larger teams.
Is this real AI, or is this just people getting better as data scientists? Because there's so many tools that you can stick on top of these platforms. There's so many different types of database you can use. We've got relationship database now. Everyone can go and have a graphing database if they want, or they can use Neo4j and do. So there's so many skilled practitioners who are not that expensive because we've got millions of people who now understand data science. Is this really AI what you're doing, or are you just putting better analytics tools on top using traditional data?
I mean, I think it starts at the point where you're going, okay, let's apply things like machine learning into the fold, which I guess was kind of the precursor to what AI really took over on. The thing about AI is it can actually look at things that are variable, like variable data sets that are hard to predict, and start to input some of that data into your ERP system. So things we look at are seasonal demand. Seasonal demand is something you can look at historical data, but it can also be driven by things that are happening right now. I can do analysis into my supply chain and understand how is the price of steel or the steel supply chain's health factor affecting the fact that I can get this steel in the next 6 months. All of those can start to be input into your ERP system, and it can be done for a company that's very small. So in that way, it's stepping away from just being something like machine learning, where you're just giving it a whole data set and saying, work out what happens next. We're saying, let's input all these different data sets that are difficult to compute and allow AI to kind of form its own foundation of what's happening.
And last for you, and then I want to come across to Adriana, but how are you using AI actually in your team, building? I mean, this is a 3-year program to put an ERP system together. I mean, you sort of say it's for smaller businesses, but I was looking on the website. I mean, you've got every feature under the sun. I mean, that's an incredible build-out that you've done over the last 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, I think this is...
I mean, you must have like 400 people.
Yeah, exactly. I think when we started, we were told that you need 50 people to build the system. We built it with about 22. And it just shows you that with the help of AI, it becomes like, I don't call it a crutch, but the ability to accelerate information into your company. So someone trying to understand as a developer how a sales process works for a manufacturing company. Previously, I was spending hours doing research and trying to understand intrinsically what's going on. With AI, it brings all the information to a centralized point where I can query it and create a conversation. So we've seen our own team be able to break down complex ideas with no manufacturing background and then develop on the back of that. At the same time, you still need to have someone who can oversee it and say, I can verify what's coming out of this AI is true, because there is always that risk. But the ability to learn quickly and accelerate that growth is something we haven't seen before.
Someone to verify at the back end today. Tomorrow, not so much needed.
Yeah, I mean, you have to assume that we get to a point where someone's verified it on the AI side. I mean, as an operating company, we are giving the software to people who are making decisions on the back of what we tell them. So we have to verify it ourselves as a third party. Maybe we get to a stage where the AI companies take over and they say we're going to have our own verification process, or a second AI doing the verification on the data that's coming out. But I don't know what happens with what we look at in the future of the legal aspect of that. Can you trust the AI company to be both the watchdog and the person providing the service?
Adriana, it depends.
Yeah, I mean, so what kind of disruption are we talking about? And let's go back maybe a million years ago to the invention of fire as a tool, right? And then I was talking to some people, and we looked at the link between rocket propulsion and the first controlled use of fire, which is, there's evidence for it outside of Joburg here in South Africa 1 million years ago. Interestingly, the most important impact of that technological development 1 million years ago with our ancestor was not maybe on the technological side, but talking to one of the researchers who works there at the Swartkrans and Sterkfontein caves, was that the cultural revolution that happened as a result of those few extra hours that people had to converse around the fire at night when they would previously be doing whatever, sleeping or warding off predators, led to the kind of cultural revolution where people were starting to develop language and art and so on. So what I would hope the disruption that AI brings is a cultural disruption. And what I hope that we're talking about disruption here is not the disruption of the current status quo of who's making money, because I think that needs to be disrupted, and so I hope AI can do that. But more importantly, I think AI is holding up a mirror to our society. The data we're feeding in is coming up with conclusions based on the data coming in. And so it is a chance to reflect on where we are going as a species, not on a business level, but as a species of humans. And I think collaboration and creativity are our two core fundamental characteristics, and the extent that we can leverage AI as a tool to achieve our creative collaborative projects is the kind of disruption I'd like to see.
Okay, so that's it's not going to come across the right way. That's fantasy. That's futurism. We hope this is where we go. This is what we want.
I said it's a tool. I didn't say it's a future.
No, but we want this nice future where our curiosity, our creativity, we can talk, we communicate better, we get all the benefits out of AI. But before that, can you just talk about where you see the disruption coming? Because what exactly is AI going to change? For example, will we see large amounts of job displacement, in your opinion, across certain types of industries?
I mean,
as a starting point.
These kind of conversations happened around computing and the internet. We don't still talk about now like what's going to happen with the internet. We just use it to achieve the amazing, by the way, morning of pitches that I heard here from all the startups. I have a renewed hope in society and the world, looking at all the amazing applications of AI or whatever technology you're using. Does it really matter? I mean, now we're really grappling with the regulations and the impact of what AI will bring. But just imagine the kind of conversations that happened when the first transistor was developed and when the first computers were linked a few decades ago. Hopefully we can move to a place where we're talking about the kinds of problems that we want to solve, including water security, food security, power management, and that AI just becomes a tool for that. So of course it's going to disrupt the current status quo of who's making money. I don't know in what way. I'm not an economist or a person looking at that. You can see how I raise money through passion and collaboration. So in terms of investments and so on, I'm probably not the right person for that.
Do you, and I know you've heard this counter argument to that before. I just wonder if you worry about it, or if you can just dismiss it quite quickly. A lot of people worry that this particular revolution is different because we're not creating a tool. All the other revolutions, fire, we've had to go and control it, or computers, we've built them so that we have to type into them. The automotive industry, which we've created, we drive these vehicles, and it allows us. And then every time we've created one of these revolutions, it's had very positive knock-on benefits, because great, we've got cars, now we can build roads and we can build cities in places which we didn't have before, so it opens up huge amounts of productivity. The AI argument is that that's great, but there's no knock-on benefits, because actually it comes in and for the first time we become the tool. It replaces us. It doesn't open up new opportunities.
We're not there yet. So
you don't think?
So machine learning, LLMs, chatbots, that's where we are now. It's basically taking known data and turning it into quick, obviously, solutions or insights or whatever you want to call it. I don't know if we can implement a scientific revolution with AI, not in its current form. That seems clear to me. Can we think beyond the current paradigm using current data-driven intelligence? I think no. So we're not at AGI yet, like taking AI and putting it into robotics like willy-nilly or whatever word you want to use. Obviously it needs to be regulated, I think, but we're not at the point where, we're not at that point yet. Will we get there? I don't know. I don't know who can regulate Elon, hey? But anyway, that's a topic for robotics, perhaps. Tupelo, tell me how you're using AI, or what you're seeing, and who your target market is. I think that feeds in quite nicely.
Yeah, sure. So I think, firstly, let me just explain what we do. So we build AI-powered natural language processing tools for African languages. So these are tools like transcription, text-to-speech, translation, language understanding, and we build all of that for African languages. And what we've done is that we've built platforms on top of that to help enterprises engage with their customers in local languages. One of those platforms is a post-call analytics platform for call centers. So we currently today can essentially automate the entire quality assurance process for call centers, and we can draw like rich, actionable insights. So our current target market would be anyone with a call center, but generally it's BPOs or businesses servicing the mass market, and generally where there's like a lot of, they're engaging with a diverse group of people. And how we use AI is, so how we started is we were in varsity doing research into tools that can do the sort of thing that we wanted to do. And if you look at how things have changed from 2012 to roughly 2020, so we started with the more machine learning based stuff, but then post 2020, the Gen AI, the transformers started coming into place, and that changed quite a bit. So we use AI as a core tool in the service that we offer because it's one of the best ways in which you can implement the technology. Yeah. But obviously throughout like the processes within the company, we also have tools that allow us to become more efficient across the various departments.
So your software allows people to phone up in Afrikaans or Zulu and even English to go and have a conversation, and it will correctly transcribe or convert that conversation into text, translate it if you need to into a different language, and then obviously go and do the opposite. This is clearly something that we just couldn't do probably 12, 18 months ago in terms of the ability to train these models on the local languages because everything was focused on English or Spanish. I mean, so that's I guess, a question. Is that correct? We've seen this incredible development over the last 6 months, unimaginable to what we could imagine we could do, say, 10 years ago in such a short period of time. Is that accurate?
Not quite. So interestingly enough, there's been quite a lot of research and development for African languages pre-COVID even.
Okay.
I think what's always been a challenge is that the AI wasn't as hyped as it is today, and people weren't necessarily focused on how to use it to drive benefits locally in Africa for specific business outcomes.
Yeah.
So when we started doing research in this space, we had to kind of educate the market, but another key barrier was just data availability. There hasn't been sufficient data for local languages across the various domains. So if you're building for a call center, you need data that represents that specific domain, whether it's healthcare, the financial sector, or whatever it is, and we haven't had sufficient data to build these models in those languages. But what's happened now?
You've got the data now.
So what's happened is that a lot of people are seeing value because the value is now kind of accelerated in these various sectors, and there's more interest in developing this for local languages. So the data has been available. People have been calling call centers. People have been producing content in local languages. So now there's a bit more interest and investment into structuring this data so that we can develop these models.
So let's cut down to brass tacks because we've got 4 minutes and 49 seconds left, right? So this is where we are. You've got a very cool platform which is helping business process outsourcing companies. In South Africa, we've got around 300,000 people in that space. At the moment, it's probably a productivity gain where people are able to go and use the analytics which they can take out of it and the translations, and that we can better converse with each other. How do you see this proceeding? Do you see this as potentially getting to a stage where we don't need these 300,000 staff in South Africa because we'll automate them out of work?
I think the risk is definitely there, and we need to be intentional about how we approach it. So currently we operate in the QA space, which forms a part of that workforce, say about 10%, and already we're seeing reduction in that workforce. So as we move into the next 2 years or so, I think there will definitely be a reduction, and we need to be more intentional in designing systems and how these systems will implement jobs. I think the disruption with AI can be very uneven if we're not intentional about how we apply it, especially considering the context of the continent and the country we operate in.
So that's clearly disruptive. Sam, what about in your space? When I look at ERPs, you've spent 3 years building this now. A lot of people are talking up vibe coding. Vibe coding is everywhere. We can go and use so many vibe coding tools now. And everyone should, I recommend, go and Try a vibe coding tool if you've never played with one yet, and it's just incredible what you can build with these things. Go and look at Lovable or Replit or a whole heap of Bolt, a whole heap of others. But my question on these is, we're getting to a stage, as a question, I suppose, we're getting to a stage where it feels like if you have the idea, you can build the ERP system. If I'm sitting there, I've got 10, 15 people, I'm running a little manufacturing company, impossible before, but if I think it, I can type it, and even with some very basic process knowledge, I'll be able to go and ignore the code and have something magically presented within a couple of days. That's not here today, but can you see it getting there?
I mean,
that must be a threat to you guys.
You think about it, but it's kind of like the AGI conversation. Once it gets to that level, are we not going to start asking questions of, how is it impacting the entire world? And if we get to that point, yes, people might be able to sit down and say, I'm going to create my own unique software solution. All software products are going to have to become obsolete. Every person sits down, they typed everything they do into a computer, and out comes your perfect product. Right now, if you look what Lovable does, for example, when you build something lovable and you start to add layers of complexity, these, like LLMs, they start to have a certain limit of what they can understand from what they've processed before. So they can't do what you and me will do, where we can build something, come back 6 months later, and remember how we built it, and kind of come back to those ideas again and carry on building on top of them. So if I build something like an ERP, let's say it's 14 different modules across sales, procurement, fulfillment. By the time I get to the end, I'm doing fulfillment, it's starting to forget some of the key concepts that have gone into the way I've built up my sales module. And this is such critical data. So would you go to a heart surgeon who forgot what they learned 3 years ago? Probably not. And I think that's a situation we're in. If you're building industry-built software, you're not going to be trusting something like Lovable. You have to have people who are highly intelligent. They can use AI as a tool to speed up processes, but you're never going to remove that human element of being able to understand intrinsically, how does someone work with a piece of software? How do we give them the best possible result and make sure the data comes out can be trusted every single time?
All right, so we'll come to the last question and try to squeeze it in. So it's going to be for each of you. Give a little bit of a moment to think what it is. What advice have you got for the audience here? Whether they're investors, founders, wannabe founders, what advice or one single piece of advice would you give? And the context of that is obviously we are living in a world where I can't hold myself back anymore. AI is changing everything. It's highly disruptive. I can't agree with Kino's intro more. We shouldn't even be having that debate anymore. It's having a proper impact. And that impact, as you've said, you're not investing in any startups which aren't using AI or servicing the market with AI in some sort of way. We've got language translation models which are potentially going to be the first step at removing a whole workforce in terms of BPO globally, especially with agentic agents, on the background. We see what's happening in science across different areas with alpha folding, but obviously we didn't get into that with the singularity guys. It's impacting every industry, and the forecasts are just phenomenal in terms of, Moore's law on steroids in terms of potentially where we're going. And you're using it already in ERP and seeing the potential of how it could change. So things are moving quickly. Not one of you has come back and said that this is made up. What's the one piece of advice you'd each like to give to everyone as we close this out? We'll just start with you.
Yeah, really quickly, I think if I were an entrepreneur right now, I would map my processes as a company, and I would try to see everything that is like a very repetitive or like low value added task, and I would try to see how I can implement an agent or any AI tool to like improve it and lower the cost and get more systematic about like automation. So really mapping my current processes and see what I can automate.
So I think mine's very simple. So focusing on utility and not making AI just part of branding. So really the core fundamentals of venture building, I think, are still the same. Focus on the problem, obsess about the problem, find tools that can help you solve the problem. If that tool is AI, then go for it.
Adriana.
So I've said AI is almost like looking into a mirror and what it's reflecting about the data we're putting into it and what that says about our society. So I would say the most important question we can ask ourselves is, why are we doing what we do? So I come from academia, which is about the sharing of knowledge. I come from space exploration, which could arguably be taken over by AI, but would not, while I'm still around, to have anything to say about it. Because in the future of work where AI might do all the repetitive tasks, what's the purpose of life, right? And I think knowledge sharing, caring for people in the healthcare scenario, educating people, physically exploring, and that sense of adventure would be those fundamentally human characteristics that we return to. And now's the time to think about the purpose, right? Why do we do what we do? And if you would radically change what you do because AI took over your job, what's next? And that's a really important question we can all grapple with in this current era.
Thank you, Adriana. Sam?
Yeah, I think my one takeaway is that we're living in a small period of time where you can do things at an incredibly accelerated rate, and you can learn, you can build, you can understand, like take advantage of it while it's like this, because we don't know what it's going to be like in 10 years, 15 years, 20 years.
Guys, lady, thank you very, very much for joining me. Thank you.
Thank you.